Okay, so Natalie Bollinger was 13 years old when I first met her. There was a young woman named Maddie Boa who was a lesbian, and she was friends with Derek Parrish. Derek Parrish was 18, and I was friends with him and his mom because I gave them a blanket. Um, Background story behind that: I passed out blankets in Boulder, Colorado for about 7 years and walked people to the warming centers and homeless shelter nearly that entire time. Um, One night, Derek Parrish and his mom Janine were sleeping in the bottom of a parking garage behind Starbucks, and it was cold, and I brought them a blanket, and that's how we became friends. Derek Parrish was friends with Maddie Boa, and Maddie Boa got beaten up by her dad for being a lesbian. And I went and spoke with an officer by the name of Abel Ramos and an officer by the name of Jenny Paddock about all the kids hanging out down there. Now, it's bad enough that homeless people have all the shit that they have to deal with just because they don't have an income. They get it worse than black folks. They get it worse than native folks, unless those natives or black folks happen to be homeless as well. I don't feel I don't feel as if that's all right at all. Black people are human beings. Homeless people are human beings. Native Americans are human beings. So Maddie Boa was friends with a couple of girls. When I'd go to see Janine and Derek, oftentimes those kids would show up. And many of them, like Shiloh Epp, didn't like it. They didn't like me being there because I was an asshole to them, telling them, hey, you don't need to be here. This is the wrong place for you to be. I don't want you hanging out anywhere near me because people get the wrong idea. It's not like Chapel, Nebraska, where you can have friends that are kids. I mean, I was friends with Miss Jerry and her kids. I helped to raise her kids. But that's in a small town in Nebraska. I helped to raise a few people's kids here. But who I was didn't matter. What mattered is Officer Abel Ramos and Officer Jenny Paddock said, Sean, they have as much of a right to be here as you do. And those officers are absolutely right. And that was right after Maddie Boa had gotten her ass beat by her dad. So I was a lot nicer to Maddie Boa, at least. Maddie Boa was hanging out with Natalie and Alicia Bollinger. And although I don't remember specifically drawing on Natalie, there was a thing at Creek Fest, and there was a young woman named Kat, and she goes by Kat Chang. I don't know what her real name is. And she was drawing pictures on people, um, making money. So I helped her out a little bit. And I drew maybe 2 or 3 pictures on people. Natalie remembered me drawing a dragon on her shoulder. Later on, she got a dragon on her shoulder, a real tattoo of one. Anyway, Natalie was 13 years old. Her mother was an alcoholic and kept on choosing abusive men over her own children. So Natalie and Alicia went to live with their dad, who was a child molester and a rapist and a drug dealer and a woman beater. All the things that people call me now because Natalie's dead. They caught Natalie's killer. His name is Joseph Michael Lopez. Just before we get into all the details. Now, Natalie, she didn't become friends with me until she was 18. Before that, I knew who she was. She had been Yes, Byron, she hired someone to kill her. Anyway, where was I at? Natalie was hanging out when she was 13. She was in a sleeping bag with a much older man named Arturo or Emery, and her sister was in the sleeping bag with the other one. When I was walking around doing my rounds, because these blankets are illegal, mind you, I walk around in the morning to let people know it's time to wake up before the cops get here to give you a ticket. And that's when I saw Emery and Arturo with those two underage girls, and I let those girls know that they needed to go home. I didn't even know their names at the time. Well, quite a few years passed, and Natalie and Alicia were walking with two older gentlemen, probably mid to late 20s, and one of them saw me, got really excited, and ran over and gave me a hug. And they told me to hit them up on Facebook and wrote their information down so that I could. And I sent each of them a message and basically forgot about them after that. I had too much stuff going on. I ended up hurting my back on my birthday in 2015 and losing everything. So, the Boulder Police Department, these aren't police officers, these are Nazis, these are hobo hunters. And they wouldn't leave me alone. I couldn't walk a block. I had a backpack that was too heavy, and I was just stuck on the same block as Starbucks on the Pearl Street Mall. Every night, the cops coming by and harassing me. I couldn't get any sleep. I averaged less than an hour of sleep a night. I was getting all of my stuff stolen. Um, there's a lot of homeless on homeless crime. People get desperate and they do desperate shit. Well, I got enough Vicodin to kill myself from a guy named DJ Wow, or a girl named DJ Wow, I should say, because DJ is what we would call alternative lifestyle. DJ Wow wishes that he was born a woman. DJ was also involved in the death of my friend Danny, who I found dead behind the pedestrian shop. That's actually where I slept, behind the recycling bins that were behind the pedestrian shop. Every night I would set up a little cardboard fort so that it looked like it was just a pile of boxes waiting for the dump. I had been at Starbucks for about 7 years by that point, opening the door for people and basically trying to help to make Starbucks a better place because the people who worked there, like Roberta Richards, they made it a safe place for me. And that's when Natalie came in. She was 18 years old, and she sat down with me and explained to me that she had been suicidal and that thinking of me had stopped her from killing herself hundreds of times. That meant something to me. And I was afraid if I ate those Vicodin and killed myself that she would kill herself too, so I didn't do it. And Maddie Boa came in because Natalie Bollinger was supposed to see Maddie, but she was a couple hours late because she was hanging out with me. Then Natalie went to Virginia, and we called each other a bit. All right, mostly she called me, but she was gonna come see me in Chapel, Nebraska, before they went to Virginia. She was gonna see me along the way. One moment, I'm gonna sneeze. Anyway, she wasn't able to make it. Her and her sister were gonna get on an airplane. She had a boyfriend at the time named Tim, who was a violent asshole and stole her dog. She was done with him. She called me up and told me that if I didn't promise to go see her in Virginia, that she wasn't going to get on the airplane. So I promised to see her in Virginia. And a lot of shit happened, and I didn't get to Virginia fast enough. I went and rescued Jamie Curtis. There's a conversation with Jamie Curtis's ex, James Payton, where he confirms this. I turned around mid of the trip to go rescue Miss Jamie, and then I started back on the road for Virginia with just enough money to get there. When I was in Virginia, um, the thing that really made me actually go was she called me one night and said, if I'm not already on the road, she's going to kill herself. Several hours later, she wrapped her car around a telephone pole. I have pictures of this because she sent them to me. So I finally got to Virginia. And when I got to Virginia, I let her know I was coming over. And she let me know that I couldn't come over to her house because her mother wouldn't understand. She said that they're not mean, but she was wrong. They are mean. They're extremely mean. Um, while I was there, Natalie and Alicia and two drunk boys invited me to Virginia Beach, and I went. And while we were there, Alicia Bollinger, who is Natalie's twin sister, wanted me to go stay behind where she works, which is the cricket store in Chesapeake, Virginia. So I did. She really put the icing on the cake by saying, hey, there's a Starbucks there, and my boyfriend works there. So I went. And then I had a lot of problems because a lot of my friends had ended up dying that month. And a lot of my friends, like Miss Jerry, I stopped being friends with. And not just Miss Jerry, but also Lana and Amanda Ingeline and Candace Bondurant and quite a few other people. I was just done with them. There's no reason for that kind of rudeness. So, yes, I'm rolling my own cigarettes. That's what happens when you're broke. So, Natalie and Alicia invited me to go to a few other places. We went to the pier and the pagoda in Norfolk, and we went to a Chinese place. And that's where I found out about Miss Shelley and how much she had been beaten down by Ted Bollinger. That's Natalie and Alicia's dad. And he had had them selling drugs when they were 13. That's actually why they were down there with all those homeless people. They were selling drugs, marijuana, heroin, ecstasy, pretty much whatever you wanted. Meth is good sales across the United States. Cocaine is real big on the East Coast. Crack is real big on the East Coast. Heroin is real big on the West Coast. Washington State and Oregon especially. So, well, I was in Virginia, and of course, they're much older now and they're more adult. And we had a conversation with Miss Shelley on the way to the pagoda, and it was about an hour-long conversation. Natalie and Alicia were trying to get her to move to Virginia so that she would be safe from Ted Bollinger. You guys are gonna really find out what a piece of work Ted is. Um, Ted didn't just beat his kids; he also molested them. Y'all say, Natalie's so pretty, she's so pretty, she's so pretty. Yeah, apparently Ted thought so too, and he couldn't keep his nasty cock beaters to himself. So, Natalie and Alicia were trying to get me a job in Virginia, and they were trying to convince me to stay in Virginia, to get an apartment in Virginia. They wanted to be close to me. I let them know that wasn't a happening thing. Boulder's my home. At least it was at one point in time. Well, then Alicia wanted me to get a new phone. I had a flip phone at the time, and it was a piece of shit. So Alicia, she hooked me up because she worked at the cricket store. She hooked up Natalie's old phone that was all broken to shit, and she hooked it up with my track phone number because my flip phone was track phone. And she was pissed off that it took so long, and she quit her job 10 minutes after 10 minutes after hooking up my phone. Well, then I was invited. We were going to go hang out at Natalie's mom's house for my birthday. We were going to hang out in the driveway or sit somewhere close by so that they could see. And Alicia wanted to go somewhere else. Alicia wanted to go. Alicia this, Alicia that. Natalie was the subservient of the two. She always did what Alicia Bollinger wanted. So we went to Elliot's Coffee Grounds for my birthday. And we drew some pictures. And that was the last time I ever saw Natalie. Her mom found her heroin because Natalie hadn't quit like she said she was gonna. Joanna Taylor Smith had bought me some tattoo equipment that I was having sent to Natalie's house. And I called up Jojo or Joanna Taylor. This is Derek Parrish's girlfriend at that point in time, to let her know not to send it. She had bought it from a woman named Lexi Woods, who was an alcoholic. And Lexi Woods turned out to be a real piece of work herself. Long story short there is that that telephone wouldn't work properly. I had gotten severely dehydrated sitting in the McDonald's parking lot for the entire day on my birthday before we finally were able to go. There was road construction outside of her house, and with that phone all broken to shit, and Miss Jerry's son, Tyler Frericks, had a racist friend. I believe his name was Wes King. He got my phone number from Tyler and was being a racist asshole. And I was arguing with him. You can see my Facebook posts at the time. There's two different types of posts. There's the ones where I was using a computer, and there's the ones where I was using my phone. And the ones that I was using my phone are completely different. Any fucking idiot would be able to tell, yeah, that's probably not what I'm trying to type. Anyway, a few days had passed, and Natalie and Alicia, Natalie was going to come see me on the following Monday so that we could have a conversation one-on-one, which is something that she had been asking for. And I got proof on my Facebook of that as well. It was a big pain in the ass. And I had been severely dehydrated. I had hurt my back trying to clean up a bunch of hurricane damage down in North Carolina. And I just wasn't in a good way. I hadn't slept. I was in a lot of pain. It just sucked. Well, Natalie's sister Alicia had typed a few very rude things to me that sent me into a panic attack. I didn't know anybody there. I don't mean to be autistic. I just am. I don't mean to have Tourette syndrome. I just do. The thing is, I have to normalize for you, or you guys treat me like I'm a junkie. You treat me like I'm a fucking psycho. Because, see, most of these actors don't know real psychos. They don't know any serial killers. But they do know the weird kids that everybody makes fun of and says, you're going to be a killer, you're going to be a psycho, you're probably going to go kill 300 people. Those people with autism. High-functioning autism. So, well, I was in Virginia, and I drove to Miss Natalie's. On the phone that she gave me, I was able to finally get it to work with the MapQuest, and that's because I had the help of the people at Starbucks, including Alicia Bollinger's boyfriend at the time. And I went to her house to go talk to her, and my car got stuck in the middle of the road. And, well, on my birthday, I had driven to their house, and Alicia drove us to Elliot's Coffee Grounds from her mom's house in my car. And Natalie sat on my lap. Well, when I got dehydrated and stuck outside of their house a few days later, the car narrowly missed me. And I was stuck in the middle of the road. The steering column was loose, it's not going anywhere. And I got my foot on the floor, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just fucking scared shitless. And a car drove by me and honked its horn. And at that point, my eyes stayed on the house. I was not going to see a family of six train into the side of me. And I laid on the horn so that anybody coming around that corner would be less likely to slam into the side of me. Natalie's mom came out of the house and mouthed the words, "I'm calling the cops." And I was so thankful for her at that moment. I was so thankful for Natalie's mom. I was stuck in the road and I needed help. Well, the police showed up and put me in the back of their vehicle, but they didn't arrest me. And I was reading on the screen, because they had the computer screen in the front of the vehicle and I could read it from the back seat. It said that I was stalking a male resident of that address. I'm not stalking anybody. I'm stuck in the fucking road. So the police officer, I was trying to explain to him what was going on. He said that my car would be fine, that it wasn't going to get towed, and he took me to the hospital where I was given some IVs that were full of saline water because I was severely dehydrated, obviously. They dropped me off, no vehicle, no money, gave me a piece of paper with a list of resources, the closest one being 8 miles away, and I had to try to fundraise enough to get my vehicle out of impound. I went to a place called Food Lion over by the Chesapeake Hospital, and one of the employees there bought me a phone charger so that I could charge my phone, and I got a hold of Brandon Ratner to try to get funds to go home, and Brenda Dickinson and Alex Furman, and I was finally able to get home. But when I got to my car had been broken by the police. They had intentionally fucked up my vehicle. And I made a phone call to them to try to report about those police officers and their conduct. And I also sent Natalie and Alicia each a message saying, "Hey, if you guys are scared of me or your families are scared of me, just let me know. I'll leave and I'll never talk to you again." And I thought that was good enough, or at least it should have been. Well, Natalie called me on her twin sister Alicia's phone to say that her family was scared of me and not to talk to her again. So I blocked her and her sister on Facebook. And instead of pursuing the police for breaking my vehicle, I got the fuck out of that state. I started driving back to Boulder. I was like, you know what? I can't deal with these drug addicts and their fucking bullshit. I'm out. And I called Maddie Boa, who was supposed to go on the trip with me, but couldn't because she was on probation for selling methamphetamines. I got a hold of her and she said a bunch of really mean shit, didn't hear anything that I had to say, didn't let me say anything really. And she started spreading rumors to all her little meth customers in Boulder, Colorado. When I got to Boulder, my very first day, within hours, I had people being assholes to me. And it started off as, "You're a stalker." And then that rumor, because Alicia had lied to Maddie Boa and said that I threatened Alicia and Natalie's family, which was bullshit. I had to deal with that rumor. And because Natalie is pretty, people wanted to impress her. And those rumors got out of hand. It went from, "You stalked some girl in Virginia," to, "You threatened a girl in Virginia and her family," to, "I heard you raped some girl in Virginia," to, "I heard you were molesting some little girl in Virginia." All of this because I got stuck in the middle of the fucking road while severely dehydrated. Well, after a year of not being able to see my loved ones because I chose to stay away from places where people were physically violent with me. I didn't get to see my loved ones. I didn't get to see my older brother, Eric Christopher Schwartz, for it had been over a year by that point, year and a half. And people just kept on typing pretty words at me. Like, no, I need an actual friend in person. And I finally got disability and I got into housing and I actually moved down to Colorado so I could be closer to my friends. And I was paying rent up here and down there. And I had gotten a hold of Natalie to try to, well, Maddie first, to try to get a stop to it, get them to tell the truth. Well, they wouldn't, so I was basically stuck in Chapel, Nebraska, where most of the people I know are inbred racist assholes. So then Tim Beeson, which is the abusive ex of Natalie's, was getting a hold of me and threatening me and calling me a child molester and all sorts of other fucked up shit. So these people really kept on escalating the situation, wouldn't leave me the fuck alone. And so I tried to get a hold of Natalie and Alicia again, and Maddie. Say, hey, fucking call off the dogs, put a stop to this shit. They wouldn't do it. So I let Natalie know that if she doesn't come forward with the truth, by this point, I'm extremely suicidal. I said, if you don't come forward with the truth, I'm going to retaliate. And I did. I retaliated with the email that she had sent me in 2016, talking about what a piece of shit her dad is. I posted that right on his timeline. Fuck Ted Bollinger. I had gotten a hold of her mom a couple days earlier to explain what was going on. Hey, I'm getting treated like a child molester and a rapist here. I need help. I was seeing three different therapists at the time. Two of them professionally, and one of them that used to be a friend of mine. And I had a caseworker that really wasn't doing her job. Not that she could anyway. But when I exposed Ted, Natalie got a hold of me and said I fucked things up way worse with her family. And then she wanted to meet me in Boulder, Colorado at the Starbucks on Pearl Street. I let her know I wasn't comfortable there and I'd rather go to the police station. Well, she wasn't down with that idea. She wanted to meet at a Starbucks. So we agreed on the Starbucks on University and Broadway in Boulder, Colorado. And I got a hold of a young woman named Chelsea Worsing to try to get some help from her so that I would have somebody there. I mean, I figured there was a chance it was going to be the cops that showed up. I figured it was a chance that some of these assholes who had been threatening my life would show up. And I figured there was a chance that Natalie would show up. I was hoping it would be Natalie. But it wasn't. It was a protection order. And just like with all of the police that I'd spoken with about this situation prior to this in Boulder and in Chapel, Nebraska here, Officer Michael West refused to take a report from me. Every officer that I spoke to refused to this day, by the way. So, after I got the protection order, I stopped talking to Natalie or sending her messages, and I tried to get a court date. Now, I'd been trying to get a lawyer for almost a year by that point because I was being assaulted over the slander. And Jeff Ritter from the Colorado Coalition of the Homeless finally agreed that he was going to help me to do that. He just didn't keep his word. And it was over Christmas break, so he wasn't working anyway. And so then I went over to Miss Peaches because Ken and Leah, my landlords, had stolen all my money. They took all of my disability money, and it doesn't matter what they spent it on. The fact is, it wasn't their money to spend. And so I was completely broke. I didn't know how protection orders worked, and I just assumed that it was permanent. Not that I had the money to even get on a bus to go to court at that point. I'd spent all the rest of my money going to see Miss Peaches the day that I got the protection order. So I went to Miss Peaches after Ken and Leah on the 26th of December of 2017. Ken and Leah, I confronted them about my money because they were supposed to pay me back on December 8th and hadn't. I didn't have any money. My Christmas fucking sucked. And Ken and Leah's roommate, Dawn Bird, came out and assaulted the fuck out of me. Well, I shouldn't say assaulted the fuck out of me. She just came out and was ramming her chest into me, yelling at me. So I let them know I was leaving to go find my voice. And I went to Miss Peach's house. That's Kayla Trujillo. And I made a missing persons post while I was there. Kayla Trujillo had back surgery while I was there. And after she had back surgery, she was going to help me. And we were going to have dinner. And after dinner, we were going to sit down and work on that. Well, before I could get started cooking the chorizo, I got a phone call from the police. Now, mind you, at this point, I still think Natalie lives in Virginia. And I'm pretty pissed off at her and the police at this point because they wouldn't do anything to help me get a protection order. Not a goddamn thing. Not through any of the people threatening me or assaulting me. The cops just didn't give a fuck. They never do when you're homeless. It's like being black, but worse. It's like being Native American, but worse. Well, I got that phone call saying that Natalie was missing, and I hit the floor. I told that officer to go find her. And that's where the hell really intensified. I mean, it went from me wanting my life to be over because of all the shit that I was going through because they lied to now it's all over the news and people are threatening me worldwide. And all I wanted was an honest day in court to defend myself. I was tired of people threatening to kill me. I've got a lot of people threatened to kill me since then. The police refused to do their job, so when I went to them after Natalie disappeared, they were very much not helpful. Boulder police, that I was asked by Officer Jai Rogers to go to Boulder, and so I did. They asked for information that I tried to get them while I was in Boulder, and between the general public, the homeless, and of course the Boulder police, I was unable to do that. And it's been hell ever since. I never should have been made a target. Everywhere I go, I have to deal with people threatening my life. So that's why I speak out. They took away my disability money. I was assaulted by police officers and sent to a place called Clearview Behavioral Health. I want you guys to look up Clearview Behavioral Health here in YouTube. And then I want you to look up Officer Waylon Lolatai here on YouTube. That's what I had to deal with in January of 2018, right after Natalie was killed. All the people that I had gotten rid of in Virginia because they had stabbed me in the back and ganged up on me. People like Jerry Sparks and her children, Lana Engeline, Amanda Engeline, Candace Bondurant, and my dad. These are all people that never should have been allowed back in my life. Because Natalie was dead, I allowed these people back in my life. I gave them another chance when none of them deserved it. And because I was trying to turn in police for not doing their jobs, the police did everything in their power not to take a report, not to look at evidence. None of my public pretenders looked at evidence. There's a guy named Steve Tombleson. I recorded a conversation between him and I. It's right here on YouTube. Also on my channel, look up Samantha D. That's conversation with someone who knows Natalie and Alicia. There's also a man named Bobby Forrest, and I posted up a conversation between him and I as well. I grew up in the system. I was beaten up on my skin. I was raped. I was molested. And I've been speaking out and protecting children ever since. There ain't a goddamn thing you can do to stop me from protecting those people, short of killing me. You lock me up, I'm still going to speak out. Anyway, her family, there's some pretty rotten sons of bitches. Denise M. Kelly, her grandmother, a bad person. Rose M. Kelly, her mother, a bad person. Alicia M. Bollinger, her sister, a bad person. Danica Garner and Rochelle Shelley Campbell, her two ex-stepmothers, bad people. But the worst of all is Ted Bollinger. When Mandy Singer's son disappeared, I tried to help find him. When Shauna Sinclair's daughter disappeared, I tried to help find her. I made those posts the same day that Natalie disappeared, and Rose got on there to harass me, call me a stalker. Rose deserves prison time for what she put those girls through. But Ted deserves life in prison. I do believe that that's what child molesters should have to do. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ted Bollinger did molest his daughter. Daughters, I should say. Bobby Forrest verified the fact that Alicia Bollinger told him Ted did the same thing to her. Meanwhile, I'm the one who gets pegged as the predator. I'm the one that gets pegged as the monster. You don't like how I react? The fact is, I went through over a year of abuse before Natalie was killed. I had everything taken from me. I couldn't see any of my loved ones. And when I did finally get to go see them, they blew me off, brushed me off, or in Derek Parrish's case, he screamed at me for 3 days. Fuck the world.